Hey guys, welcome to the second installment of the set square tutorial. What we're going to be doing here today is going through and drawing all these sections up here. So all these increments, this is our circle template if you like. We're going to look at how we're actually going to draw this from scratch. So in the previous tutorial we went through and drew the triangle, and we also added in all the increments. So these are the millimeter measurements for the rule. And now we're going to be doing the circle templates up through here. Now in order to do this one, we're going to be using some coordinates. You'll see we've got numbers up the side here. These are ordinates. So ordinates are dimensions that come from a 0 point. Our 0 point at this stage is this bottom corner right here. You'll see these go up in from 29, 42, 57. So what that's doing is measure each one of these is like a baseline dimension, which is measuring the distance from 0 for each one. And horizontally, we have the 20, the 41.5, and so on. So that's giving you the dimensions or the measurements from this edge inwards. So with that said, let's have a look at how we're actually going to draw this. The very first thing we're going to do is have a look at the distance from there to there. You'll see it's 20 millimeters. This, if you work it out, is also 20 millimeters from there to there. So the easiest thing to do is take this outside line and offset it in 20 millimeters. That will give us a line up here and a line down there to work with. Popping into AutoCAD, the easiest thing we can do here is just use the offset tool. So clicking on offset, specify the distance of 20, I already have that in there, and select the line to offset, move in the direction and left click. Press enter when you're done. We now have a line running up and coming down, something that we can actually use to draw on. So popping back to the drawing, what we're looking at here, our first spot, we're looking at 29.2. So from there what we can do is we go and we can draw a circle, and what I'm going to do is specify the coordinates 29.2 comma 20. Now you see, as soon as I've done that, it's gone in some random location. All right, now there's a number of reasons that could be. The first thing we need to do is find out where 0 is, and that will let us determine whether it's gone to the right point or not. The other reason why it could have gone there is also because we were using dynamic inputs. Now dynamic inputs uses relative coordinates. So what that means is wherever your last 0 point was, it will now draw your coordinate based from that point. So the last point becomes 0. That's not quite what we want in this scenario. We want this bottom corner here to always be 0. Now if I select that, what I'm going to do is just move my mouse over it, and if you have a look in the coordinates, these are these little numbers just down in here, you'll see the coordinates show 85, 62 and all that. So that tells me that I haven't zeroed this point yet. Now the easiest way to do that is just to come and click on your UCS icon, select the center grip, and we're just going to move that. I'm just zooming in onto this corner. I'm just going to click on there, and now what I've done is just moved that to 0. So you'll see if I select the outline and I move my mouse over the center point, looking down in your coordinates, you'll see 0, 0, and 0. Okay, so just down in here, you'll see all zeros. Alright, so that means I've now zeroed that point. Okay, from there, technically I don't need this line, but what I'm going to do is just leave that there for now. We'll use it a bit later on. So I'm going and drawing that circle again, entering, now before we do that, I'm going to turn dynamic inputs off. So F12 will toggle that on and off. So F12, that gets rid of the dynamic input, so it means everything I input now will be absolute units. So absolute units, when I put a coordinate in, will always come from that 0 point. What we do from here, just looking back at our drawing, we can see we've got 29.2 high, but it's 20 in. So we always input the x-axis first, followed by the y. So from here, circle 20, 29.2, enter. And as you can see, that goes in the right spot. And I'm going to use the diameter option and type in 3. So there's my first circle. Popping back over to the drawing, looking at the next one. So these are going up in 1mm increments all the way up to 10, and as you can see 1mm increments all the way down to 16. So the next one is going to be 42.7 and also 20. So drawing a circle, typing in 20, x-axis always first, 20, comma, 42.7, enter, and you can either use the diameter option for 4 or the radius of 2. So that's our next circle. And we're just going to repeat this process. So next one, 20 on the X, 57.2 on the Y. So circle 20, comma 57.2, enter. And this one is 2.5 as the radius. And so we're just going to repeat that all the way up. That's just one way we could put all these circles in. So that's just inputting coordinates. Another way would be, and it's probably the easier way at this stage, would just be to draw a line. Now I'm going to take a line from 0 and just straight across using ortho. And this time what I'm going to do is, rather than inputting coordinates to get all these circles, I'm just going to offset this line here each distance. So again, if I go offset, okay, and the first one we had 29.2, click up. Okay, the next one we had, let's have a look. The next one was 42.7. Okay, so I'm just going to go enter, 42.7, enter, click on the line, move up, and then enter. Enter again, repeats the last command. This time it was going to be 57.2, enter, click on that line, offset in the direction. So we can repeat this all the way up, and then that's going to give us intersection points to be able to draw our circles. Now that's going to be probably easier to do these ones coming down here. Either way, I'm going to leave that up to you, whether you want to use coordinates or whether you want to use the offsetting option. I'll let you do whatever you need to do to get these circles in. Okay, so I've made my way up and back down with all my circles. I just used the offset option. It was much easier. So offsetting the outline in the 20 and then just drawing the line across the bottom, offsetting that up all the increments to get all the intersection points, and then just drawing all the circles in there. Now you'll notice I've already put my circles onto the same color as the inside cutout, because as I was mentioning before, when we're looking at laser cutting this, the laser won't see the layers that we can make up in here, but it will take the colors and turn them into layers. So just to make things easy, I've just already layered these. So the next step, going back and looking at the drawing, we need to put all these little increments in around here. Now there's a number of ways of doing these. We'll have a look at which ways we can do, and I'll leave it up to you to choose the way you feel is easiest. So just looking up here, you can see these little increments. They are the rectangles similar to the ones down on the bottom, but they are 3 millimeters by 0.025. Okay, whereas these ones were 5, 7.5 and 10 by the same thickness. So I'm going to go through and I'm just going to draw one of these in now. It doesn't matter where you draw it, we're just going to pop it in the right place, and then I'm going to show you a number of ways we can get this happening. Okay. Alright, so the first thing is up in the rectangle tool, just zooming in roughly where we want to be, and we're going to draw this. So I'm going to use the dimensions option, so D for dimensions, enter, and 0.25 for the X and 3 for the Y, and just click somewhere and it's done. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do, these are going to be engraved increments, so I might just use my match properties button, and just choosing one of these, I'm going to select that part there. Okay, now we have that done. The next thing we want to do is just pop this into the right spot. So to do that, I'm just going to use the move tool, so this one here, so move, and I'm going to select that object, enter, and I'm just moving that from the midpoint of that bottom line, and I'm just going to put it on the top quadrant of this circle here. Now we have that one in place. Now there's a number of things we can do. I'll run you through a couple of different ways of doing this just so you've got some options. So the first way we're going to look at doing this is I'm going to mirror this piece here down onto the bottom. Okay, so I'll run through that. So mirror, we select the object, enter. Base point for the mirror line. A mirror line always has to go halfway between your object and where you want your object to be. So if I want this point to be down here, halfway is going to be there. And the mirror line that it's asking for, so once I click there, mirror line's always perpendicular to the point that you want your object. So you'll see if I want to go from top to bottom with my object, or bottom to top, my mirror plane has to go left to right. So with ortho on, you can see if I just move it out to the side and click, now it's asking me just down in the command line, do you want to erase all source objects? No is default, so I'm just going to press enter because I want to keep that. From there, we're going to use the rotate tool. So I select rotate, select the two objects, followed by enter. Now the base point for rotation is going to be the center of this circle. Now the thing is, if I rotate that, you'll see I lose the objects that I've got up the top. Now I want to keep them there, so I'm going to use this copy option just down in the command line. So copy, that's going to leave the original ones there and just make a copy. Now because I have ortho on, I'm just going to move my mouse straight up and click. You could type 90 degrees if you like. So click, there we go. So that's one way of doing that. Now you could go and repeat that on all of these. So just copy one of these up through all of those circles and then just repeat that process. Now there is another way of doing this. So I'll do the next way on this one here. Easiest way, again, just copy what we've already got. So copy from that intersection, or we want the quadrant or midpoint there, and I'm just going to pop that back up on the quadrant up the top. So enter. Okay, so this next way, what I'm going to do is I'll make another copy of this. So copy, and I'm just going to take that out there, and I'm going to rotate this one. Rotate that one. Enter, base point, it can be anywhere, and I'm going to rotate that one 90, and I'm going to move this one from the midpoint there to the quadrant. Okay, now once I've got that, what I can do is, and I'll do this for a couple just so you can see how it works. I'm just going to copy all of these all the way up. Okay, now real easy thing is just go copy, select that one from that point there, midpoint, and all I need to do now is just go and click in the quadrants. So quadrant, 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 and I may as well do right up to the top, quadrant. Okay, now the cool thing about doing this is you can see I've just copied all of them up. What I'm now going to do is use the mirror tool, but this time I'm going to select all of those increments, or all of those lines there. I'm going to press enter, and my base point for the mirror line is going to be the center here. Now you'll see they all line up at the center. This is why we can get away with doing this. So if I click there and just pull my mouse up, straight away I've mirrored all of those. Okay, now unfortunately that's not going to work for this one, okay, because my mirror center point is going to be different from all of them. So I'm just going to go through and copy this one. So copy that from the midpoint, and I'm just going to go and place it on the quadrant of each one of these. Now similarly, what you could do is once you've actually just got all those ones there, you could just go through and do a rotate and copy as we did on the first one down here. Okay, with these ones I'm just going to mirror. Now to show you how quick we can actually do this, I'm going to use quick keys. So rather than just coming up here and clicking on mirror, I'm going to use the quick key for mirror, or the shortcut key, which is MI. So you'll see me type it just down in here. Now you don't need to click in there, you just need to type the key. So I'm going to go MI, enter. Now the space bar is also enter. Click the part that you want to mirror, enter. Click on the center point, pull it out to one side, click, enter. So now to repeat that is going to be enter, which repeats the last command, select, enter, base point, off to the side, click, enter. Okay, so enter, click, enter, base point, off to the side, enter. And we just repeat that. As you can see, it doesn't take long. Now you can imagine if you've got loads of these to do, that would take a fair bit of time. Okay. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show that down on these ones, we're going to look at another way we can do that. And as I was saying, there's probably a lot more ways you can do this. So I'm just showing you a few, but you don't want to limit yourself to just doing it one particular way. Alright, so with this one, again, back to copy. So I'm just going to copy that one, and I'm going to copy it from the midpoint there, and I'm just going to pop that to the quadrant there. Now to get these next ones, what I'm going to do is, instead of doing all the copying and the mirroring and the rotating and all that, I'm going to use what's called array. Now the array that I'm going to use, you'll see the tool is just here. We're going to click the pull down. The one we want in particular is polar array. So if I select polar array, select the object, enter, base point, and straight away you'll see it puts 6 items in there. So what I'm going to do is just come up to the top here where it's got 6 items and type in 4, press enter. And when I move away, you'll see I've got the 4 there. I'm going to close that array. And now that I have that, what I'm going to do is copy that entire array from the center of this one to the center of that one. Okay, now notice this, okay, it doesn't quite line up. Now these are what we call dynamic arrays. You'll see when I click on this object here, the center point is just there. Now that center point is going to be, each one of these circles is 0.5 mil bigger in radius from the last. So all I need to do is actually click on that, and if I know what radius this is, I just need to pull that out. Now if you're not sure, just have a look at where it says ortho. Okay, I'm getting close to where I want, and you can see it's got 7.55. So that's going to mean it's 7.5. So if I just type in 7.5, enter, there we go. Okay, I'm going to close that button. So what I'm going to do now is just copy that, okay, from there, and I'm just going to copy that to the center of all of these. Okay, done. Alright, so now if I just scroll over these, click on that, pull it up. Now the last one was 7.5, this one's going to be 8. Okay, and escape, click on that one, this one 8.5, enter. Escape, click on this one, select that, 9, enter. Escape, click on that one, 9.5. And there you have it. So that was probably much quicker than it was doing all of these, but you've now got a few options to use. Now the thing we will need to do, because we are looking at laser engraving these, the laser won't actually read these dynamic arrays. So what we'll need to do is go through and explode them. Okay, so I'm just going to click on the explode tool here, or X for explode, and I'm just going to go and select all of these dynamic arrays. Okay, and press enter. Now all that's done is it's lost the dynamic ability. Is that they have just become individual objects. Okay, and that's pretty much what we're after. Alright, from there, the next step, or the last step, really all that we need to do is take these numbers that we've got here and just pop them up through here. Okay, so I'm just going to copy the first one. So copy, and I'm just going to pop that up here somewhere, and I'm going to select that. Now you'll see where the center point is. So if I just click on that, move over the midpoint and click, and then I'm going to drag it back out. Let's go, let's say 3 millimeters. Okay, so I now have that 3 millimeters away. I'm now going to copy this one up through all of these points. Okay, I'm just copying that around. So CO for copy, and I'm just going to copy it from that point, and I'm just going to take it to that point on each one of these. So just panning, zooming. Now again, there are a number of ways you can do all this. I'm just being pedantic in that I like all of my sort of increments to be in the exact same spot on each part. Okay, so I've got all those. Now these ones here, I'm going to have to pop back over to the drawing and see what the drawing says in terms of where these are. These are all on the opposite side. Okay, so what we need to do in this case is I'm just going to take ortho off for a second, bring this over here, escape, put ortho back on and select this, and I'm going to move that one over to this midpoint. So doing the same thing, pull it back this way, 3. And we can then copy again from the same point to each one. Okay, just working our way through. Alright, so now we have that, escape to finish. Now you'll notice all the increments are the same, so what we're going to do is the same thing we did in the last tutorial for doing these incremental numbers. We go up to the Express tools and we're going to use Auto Number. Now I'm going to pick all these in the order that I want them to change, so I'm just going to work my way through. Okay, it's up in that one and then back down this way. Then enter. Okay, so now looking down in the command line here, where it's got sort select objects by, I'm going to leave that as select order. That way it'll go in that order that I actually just selected. So press enter. The start number and the increment, we're going to start with number 3, comma, and the increment we want to go in is 1. Enter. And in this case we want to overwrite, so we don't want to prefix it or suffix it, we're just going to overwrite. So click on overwrite, and there you go, all our numbers are done.